Hey guys.
Hey,
What's up, Jim?
Well, so if you're like us, you hate being suckered. I mean, I loathe being suckered. I hate being taken advantage of. But when I get scammed, at least I can look at myself and I can blame myself. I can, knock myself in the head and say, look how foolish I was. But when it's an employee of mine, of course, I immediately am going to get probably really frustrated with them, but I'm going to pull back and I'm going to say to myself, did I give them enough training, right? Have I given them any training? Are my policies inadequate? Did I review my policies or do we even have policies with them? So, I really can't blame them in that situation because, what you would think common sense would prevail, but we can't rely on common sense. We have to have training, we have to have policies. But when it's an elderly parent or relative or grandparent, or when it's a kid, my kid, somebody else's kid, I really, really internalize. I know, my gosh, I got to tell you, I think to myself, what could I have done? And these guys are going to tell you some cool stories too. Well, not so cool, but sad stories too. And so today, if you don't listen to any other show, listen to me and me and the Reboot crew today, because we're going to tell you how to solve these problems, give you some tips on it, and some good stories that will help you internalize and feel these things to your core. So this is the Reboot, and I'm Jim Gast, and me and the Reboot crew are here to help you make important business decisions in the area of business operations, technology, cybersecurity, human resources, productivity, finance, and today even personal decisions on how to help the elderly and kids, right? And so joining me today are these guys blessing us with their presence.
hey, I'm Dave Groot with WinStar Technologies.
Brian Bracci from B&L PC Solutions on Long Island in New York.
David Luft with LDD Consulting in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Thanks, guys. Welcome. This is a really important topic, and honestly, I've known elderly to get scammed. Okay, but I want to start off with a really interesting story. So I do cybersecurity presentations. I do lunch and learns for my customers, and so I love to give real world examples. So I happened to get a text message from on my phone, and I took that text message and I took a screenshot of it so I could use it in my presentation. And so as I'm sitting around, as I'm standing there and sitting with 12, 15 people sitting around me in this lunch and learn, it was the funniest thing that I came across this text message, right? And I was telling everybody about it. Dude, don't trust text messages. You think that Target hack where, they only got cell phone numbers and names and stuff like that was benign. No, they got cell phone numbers for targeting through text. And so I'm telling everybody in this, and then I said, see, look, on my cell phone, here's an example. And I started passing it around the room, and I got to the first person. I kind of kept talking because that's what you do. You don't wait for, everybody to look at the show and tell. And so as I'm talking, like within a minute, the person's looking at my phone going, Jim, the link's not working. It's not working. And I said, that's exactly why I took a picture of it instead of showing you the actual text message that I said, don't click on just before, right? And so, they're like, oh, so it's just a picture. I'm like, yeah, it's a picture. Why would you click on it if it's a potential threat, right? Oh, you weren't listening, obviously. And, and I get it, right? And so I'm like, as I kind of nicely lambasted that person, right? Not bad, but, made it a point that you need to learn from this. They passed it 2 more people down, and the next person's going like this. It's not working. Man, I got to tell you, it's things like that that just help people to get scammed, right? And so text messaging is a vector that people don't think about, and I'm not, and it happens in business, it happens, in personal life. So look, I've never been scammed, but I get some really real looking text messages, and I have to call to my question. The question, is that a Verizon text? Is that real? And so, yeah, that's an interesting. It wasn't exactly getting tricked, but surely I had an example where people could have really just done it themselves and not thought about it in business. Guys, anything similar?
I think, Jim, that's the problem when it comes to cybersecurity in general, right? is we can do all kinds of things. We can put processes and procedures and training and controls in place, but the people are still involved, and they're human beings, and they act on emotion. And generally speaking, these scams all trigger an emotion, and it takes away the common sense factor. We're busy in our day. We're moving along. We want to appease our boss. They're asking us to do something. And of course, we're going to do it. And so we're clicking a link, or we're going to the store to buy debit cards to send the pictures of the codes on the back of the cards to somebody we don't even know so that they can cash them in. Happens all the time. So it's a big problem.
Scams are
Well, listen, this goes back to the old
rampant.
phone calls. They used to call your grandparents up over the phone, or your in-laws, and try to sell something and do this. And now it's all digital now. It's just another platform that they use to try to get whatever they can. If it can't be over the phone, it's going to be through an email, like you're saying. And I think
It's mostly digital, but it still happens on the phone
you
too.
still do. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, Microsoft calls
now.
all the time, tell you there's a problem with your computer, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Oh my
I
gosh.
still hear that story.
I get
all
these
the
calls all
time.
the time. I get
Hey, let's set the record clear.
Yeah.
Microsoft will never call you. They don't know you have a
Not at all,
computer,
not at
and
all.
they'll never know if it's broke.
And the
Trust
IRS either, for that matter, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well,
No,
they
they'll
might.
come
They
knocking
might.
at your door. They'll come knocking at your door with some piece of paper.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I can say I know personally, and inside of my personal circle, not necessarily clients or otherwise, in the last 6 months, I know of 2 people who were enticed by an email sent to them with hey, we charged your credit card X amount of dollars for this new something, antivirus software or something or another. And it has a phone number in the email. And so, of course, what happens is the emotion trigger hits, the phone gets picked up, and you're calling that person expecting that they're legitimate because, of course, it came on the internet, must be real, must be true. And hey, they put their phone number in the email. A hacker's never going to give you his phone number. Like, what kind of nonsense would that be? And so, oh, you want to come in my computer? Oh, well, sure, that makes sense. And the next thing you know, it's like dawns on you like, wow, this isn't right. But by the time you think that way, they're in your machine for 20 minutes and they've already exfiltrated everything they want, and they're going to do whatever they're going to do.
and you didn't see them do it, by the way.
Oh, no.
They did something in front of your face.
That's
what
right.
you didn't see is what they did through special scripting or special tools they use that go through your computer and rifle through the important information they're looking for.
Yep.
What kind of things are they looking for? When Microsoft or the IRS calls and they want to look at your computer, guys. Okay, again, big quotey fingers, right? They're Microsoft and IRS.
Yeah.
What kind of can somebody walk us through how that happens?
Well, there's a guy. There's if anyone wants to take any notes on YouTube, I think his name is Jim Browning, and he goes one-on-one with these hackers. He plays
That's
the
fun
victim,
stuff. Yeah.
records all the stuff. He's actually gotten into their CCTV systems and narrowed it down. They have call centers. These guys, right? And he's watched. All right, okay, this guy's at desk 11. This guy's at desk 4, and watch them go through their process of And basically, what they're doing is they're ultimately looking for money, but they're in your computer. They could be pulling down files. They could block it from booting. They could be, they're doing all the stuff that you can't see, and it's really just to, and what he does, Jim Browning, is he kind of gets into their systems without them knowing it and does it to them and gets their password list, their call list. I mean, these guys. I mean, you think that it's like almost like a.
It's an industry.
And
it
they
is
have
a
spreadsheets
business,
with
man. Oh my goodness!
focus
Yeah.
on
It
what they
is
have to meet.
ninth biggest economy on the planet. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sorry. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
We almost all need to go into the business. Like I'm just saying, if it wasn't illegal, that's where I'd be working.
So that ultimately, Jim, like what you would ask is they're looking for a payday. They want, whether they can get you to log into your bank information so what they do is they will go into your computer and create a fake bank page and show you, look, here's the money we just transferred you. We want $1,000 or $500, but we're going to give you back $2,000, and here's a credit coming into your account. You can see it. It looks real,
Yeah.
and they're getting there through credit cards, through, like you say, go to the store and get some gift cards or whatever. It's endless.
I have had so we all market, we all try to get new customers to call us. But probably maybe 1 out of 10 calls that come from my website is an individual working from home, okay, or an elderly person that is that. Hey, I've got Microsoft on the phone right now, and I said I stopped. I said, "Ma'am, stop. You don't have Microsoft on the phone." What do you mean, sir? And I'm always nice to them because I want to help them. I feel so, there's only so much I can do, right? And I
Yeah.
said, you need to unplug your computer right this minute, the power for it, unplug your internet connection and hang up the phone, immediately, is what I tell them. And there was one group that, one person that called their real estate agent, and they had been hacked. And I just, I just talk to them and just try to walk them through. Look, take your computer to a computer professional. I can't help you because it's not what we do specifically for individuals, right? But here's some places you can go, and gave them a list of places they can go to take their computer, because honestly, you do not want to ever turn it on again until it's evaluated by someone, and tell them exactly what happened. And then I go so far as to say, and it's happened, when you get there and you don't understand what they're saying, call me back. Take my number. Call me back. I just don't care. You know what I mean? I hate people being suckered.
Yep.
It happens. It happens once a month. It happens once a month.
Go
Go ahead.
No, you go, Brian.
No, I was just saying we can get to this. I think you said at the end, but along the same lines of trying to train your clients and employees properly, right? Part of some of the issues that we see is we tell them what to look for and what to do, and sometimes they will forward something that they think is suspect, which is the right thing to do, but because our perimeter protection is so good, we don't get it.
Yeah.
It's blocking that from being forwarded. So then an hour or two later, it'll come up somehow, and they'll say, yeah, I assume that message was good. I never heard back from you. I opened it up. And it's like, well, you're doing the right thing by calling, but you failed because you opened up something that you didn't get, our blessing on, that it was clean or safe.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, we have clients that are in a regimen of security training, fish testing, all of it, and they're much, much more aware. But there is, like I tell people this every day, and I know you guys believe the same thing, but here's the difference, guys. I mean, we got to get it right every time. Hacker only has to get it right once, and so it's an unfair game to begin, right? Like every day matters. If you come and you sit at your desk, you have to detach the emotion. You cannot make actions or decisions.
I liken it to the game. The floor is lava. I'm telling you, you fall into the lava, it's over, brother. The lava wins every time if you make that mistake, and so do the hackers. So it's never fails. I had a situation with one of our customers, and we tell you these stories because we want you to learn from them. We don't tell them for entertainment value, although they're kind of entertaining at the same time, I hope, but it's more education. And so I had a customer call us up, and they were going back and forth with a vendor, okay? And at a certain point, the vendor sent ACH information to the customer, and the customer said, "Okay, I'll get it taken care of," right? Well, then they got another email. No, don't send it to this bank account. Send it to this bank account instead. And so when the time came, they did that, and that bank account, they put the money in there, and then told the vendor, "We paid you." And the vendor said a day later, the vendor said thanks. A day or two later, that money never came through. What do you mean it didn't come through? I paid you. Well, no, we did. Did you send it to our bank account? No, I sent it to this bank account, the one you told me to send it to after the original one. What they found out is that a hacker had been into their system, had gotten into their systems, and intervened and sent an email on the behalf of the customer. And on behalf of the vendor. Customer, okay? And our customer got suckered because they didn't validate and verify that information.
And how could they have done that, Jim? Should they have done?
No, they should have. Well, honestly, they should have called the vendor.
Correct.
Hey, on the first one, I received your ACH information. I want to verify that this is your ACH information. And don't call them from the number on the email. Call the number that you know is real.
Yep.
Then when the vendor changed that, they should have recalled them and said, hey, I just got an update. Is this your update?
Right.
That's how it should have been done.
I got a similar story to that, but it's almost the same kind of consequences, or circumstances, but very different. Client calls us complaining that she's trying to open up an attachment from a vendor and that our advanced endpoint protection is jumping up and down saying, you can't open this file. And so she's wanting us to override that. And I immediately counter back and say, well, let's just take a closer look, because if the software is telling us that this is a problem, then I tend to want to believe that over anything else. And so we start investigating, and she's like, well, here, let me forward it to you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Brian, I know that's the right thing to do, but I always hate when that stuff's coming at me too, right?
Sure.
So, of course, my advanced endpoint just freaks out. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely not a good thing. And we do a little bit of calling and checking around, investigating, come to find out, here's what happens. The vendor would communicate with this lady at least once a year for renewal of their subscription. And in this case, she got an email about the same time as she always does from this same rep that she's always worked with. But this rep had not worked for the company for 6 months. Their account had never been disabled. A hacker got into their email, went back through the history, found all the communication with previous vendors, and then duplicated that communication with a malware attachment to all of the clients. And this being one of our clients, tried to open up that attachment. So this is somebody in the medical industry who has, a hospital with a firewall. That's the email system that it came through. Okay. It went out of the vendor's firewall with the attachment on it. It came into the hospital's firewall with the attachment on it, got all the way to the computer, and the computer was stopped, thankfully, at the advanced endpoint. But if she had not had that last layer of protection, we would have been looking at a HIPAA breach, right? It would have been bad news.
Well, they could have shut down the entire hospital. That's how it happens. That's how ransomware takes.
That's a user who didn't get disabled. Like, I'm sorry, right. That account should have been long gone 6 months ago. Why we still got that email box sitting around? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, the good news in this day and age is that email boxes cost on Microsoft 365 and platforms. So we're always trying to get rid of those email accounts because they cost money. So that is the good news. But that's great advice right there. So let's talk about, these are wonderful stories, and we could go on and on and on. Okay, because we all have dozens and dozens of bad news stories like this. You know what, David? I do want to talk about that elderly thing really quick, though. Kids and the elderly are target, and if it's a retired elderly, they're not working, so they're not getting the updates of information that hopefully you would normally get at work. Kids, at least mine, don't work, right? Well, they work for me part-time. So I'm always instilling cybersecurity to the point at which my kid got a 2-factor authentication prompt for his Snapchat. And he said, Dad, I didn't ask for this. Is this a hack? And I'm like, I love you. You're my son for sure. Right. And I said, it absolutely is. And I put that on LinkedIn. It was a great educational piece. Right. And so these groups of people aren't getting the education that they need in this regard, but they're using the Facebook, they're using the Snapchat, they're using the Instagram, they're using bank apps, and they got smartphones too. So I would implore everyone that watches this or listens to it on a podcast later on, talk to the elderly relatives and friends that you have, and the young kids, teach them about cybersecurity. At a bare minimum, just tell them if they don't understand, if they don't question, just don't act.
What I have seen, though, and I hate to say it, is I've seen firsthand younger generations trying to circumvent the security that we put in place. Yeah. How do I get this? How do I watch this online for free? How do I not have 2-factor here? How do I? And that putting more effort into that than to the understanding the importance of what we're trying to push out. And that's troublesome.
And that's that's again, that they have to understand that it's like a seatbelt. It's here for your safety.
Well, look, we all maybe we can't all remember it, but we all were young at one point in time, and the young people, they have no fear, right? Like there is no, like, they got the world. The world is, it's their oyster. They got it. Like, you have no idea. Older people, fixed income, retirement accounts, social media for entertainment, for communication. So
Looked at all our bills every month, wrote checks.
all
out
I
every
got to
month.
do is send you an
It
email
was-
saying I charge $400 on your credit card that
Right.
you weren't expecting this month. And my God, your
Right.
whole world just turned right upside down,
Yeah,
and
it
you
did.
are doing something about it. Like, I mean, I had my mother-in-law literally tell me how she told the hacker she was calling the Better Business Bureau on them. And I mean, and I'm just like, they don't care. Go ahead, call the Better Business Bureau. Like, what are they going to do? Like, why did you even take that phone call? Like, why? Just because it came in your email, So yes, it's very easy to get frustrated, but the bottom line is, it's, again, emotion. It's a trigger, and for older folks, that is an extremely easy thing to push.
I was watching some training the other week, and they were hitting on that exactly for older folks, where they get a phone call and somebody says, "Hey, I'm your kid and I'm in a mess. I'm in Mexico." And what they recommend for two-factor authentication for that is just have a code word for your family.
Right.
And so then you can say, "Well, what's the code word?" And if
That's
they
a
don't
good
know
solution.
it, then you can just say, "Well, enjoy prison in Mexico."
Right.
That's a good solution, by the way. That's a good tip. That's a
Yeah.
really good tip. I love that. I
The
really
other,
do.
Because
other
it's off
thing,
the
old,
record, it's email. It's not email or electronic at all. It's just a phone call.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great tip. So let's get into that. That's a great segue, by the way. Let's get into talking about some solutions. So for our customers, we recommend Know Before. Okay. What I like about Know Before is that there are varying levels of training available for your employees. And so with Know Before, it can do video training. So you can do like a 5-minute video a month or a 15-minute video a month, and you can monitor your staff and who's watching it and who's not watching it. That's really, in my opinion, where you should start, is give them some remedial training. Then we do phishing testing with them. Okay. So we send a bunch of fake emails to a business. And I'm not talking about one a week. I'm talking, we might send dozens a week to an individual, right? Because the hackers are sending unlimited numbers as well. And so if you send one, you're really not going to get true results. So, and we're trying to find out who those clickers are. And why I like Know Before is because once I find out who a clicker is, I can automatically assign them some remedial training. Okay. Hey, you did bad here. Watch this 5-minute long video. And then I can get progressive and I can say, hey, you did bad again. You clicked again. Watch this half an hour long video, and it's required, or you're going to lose your job, or you're going to get a write-up, And
And
so
I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about remedial training for their employees to really impress upon them the importance of it. They make all their remedial trainings on Saturday.
ooh,
And so then if you screw up, they're like, okay, well, we're going to have remedial training. And it really helps people pay more attention. And that's
why don't
not
they just
made
call that? Why don't they
remedial.
just call that Saturday detention? Kind of like, we used to get when we were kids, right? In school. That's great. Do it on Saturday. Make them do it on their off time or something like that.
Yeah,
That's
it helps them pay better attention.
yeah. What tools do you guys use? What do you guys do to help educate your customers?
we used Know Before. We found that to be pretty effective.
Yeah, we use InfoSec, same thing. It's a same platform, blast out the
Yep.
fishes and we get a baseline, when we first start the testing, get a baseline. 3 months in, 6 months in, we evaluate where they are, see the changes, go over it. Sometimes, and we would really, like you said, who's clicking, who the clickers are, then more importantly, who's the people that are actually putting in and typing in passwords, and we get that too. So, those are the ones where, and these phishing things that we do they look real. They look like they're from Microsoft, from Amazon, from eBay, whatever. I mean, they're meant to, and what to look for is really part of the training. So it's you should be, any email should just be taken with caution unless it's someone that you're expecting. That's what you try to keep pushing out to people.
Do you guys get any phishing attempts of voice scams and stuff like that? You heard any customers get social engineered over the phone?
I don't think so.
So,
Okay. It's rare. It's more rare to businesses, but I mean, think about it from an IT perspective. I could pretend any business, call them up and say, "Hey, I'm Jim and I work for your IT company. Hey, I'd like to get remote access to this system and install some software to get remote access. We're doing some updates." You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of my guys
rock
left
on,
here.
baby.
One of my guys left here, and I reached out to all my clients and said, FYI, so and so is no longer here. If you happen to get calls from anyone that says that they're him, they're not, and let us know. And there was some feedback from clients like, oh, what happened? Bad terms. I'm like, no, he's great, but it's just if anyone knows and wants to try to come in and pretend and be a threat actor, I'm just letting you guys be aware, not to. And they don't grasp that sometimes. It's like it's not, this is for your benefit, that this does go on. People look and search, and it's like the people that go and read the funerals and see when they are and go and rob your house. I mean, it's the same concept, just at a different level.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to be afraid of Facebook posting vacation pictures because I knew my
Right.
house would be empty at the time.
Right.
So yeah, isn't that funny how that works? But I'm now it doesn't matter. Everybody does it. It's kind of scary if you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing is that do you guys do cybersecurity tips to your
We do the
customers?
weekly tips. Yeah.
You do the weekly tips?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a big value right there. If your IT provider is not doing IT cybersecurity IT tips, you should ask them to start doing them. Maybe you just got dropped off a list or something like that. That's a real helpful thing. And what I find is that those tips, they send them to other people outside the organization. So I might send them to mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, or one, that I know my kid's probably not going to read anyway, but I'll send it to them, so
Yeah.
you should forward them on to other people. Do you guys do lunch and learns?
We do lunch and learns. We lunch and learns, and then also something that we just added pretty recently was we've always been doing password managers, but now they can get a free account for their home too. It's a personal account with the password manager that's separate from the corporate account. Right?
I like that, Mr.
That just encourages them to use it, for their own personal safety as well.
I'm going to say it this simple. Do not keep passwords in spreadsheets or in your browsers.
Don't do this. Whatever you do,
store
don't
the
do
same
this.
password.
Don't do this.
Yeah,
Or
that's
more than
another
one
one.
website.
Don't use the same passwords in business and life.
I was on site at one of our clients this week, and they actually had the password on a sticky label on the monitor. I went back to the manager and I said, this is a HIPAA violation in a big way.
Yeah.
Really?
I did a scan on a computer for a client, a prospect, and we pulled off like 37 different passwords right off the hard drive, and we saw like on one of them 42 sites were using that same password, and we were able to list off every website that password was found on according to the dark web, and it was just like, holy cow, wow, look at your passwords.
Sometimes you need that kind of verification, though, to really make it hit home to the customers.
Yep. I'm going to put in the chat a couple of things that I think are pertinent after the show so that they go to all the platforms. A couple of things. One, have your IT provider do a dark web scan. That's one thing, right, Mr. Great? That's what you said.
We do it all the time. It's constant.
Dark web scan for passwords. That can be done, and you would be surprised. You will be shocked by the results. The other thing, ask your IT provider to do a lunch and learn for your organization. I love buying lunch for my customers and actually standing there talking to them and engaging with them and teaching them. It's one of my favorite things to do. And then also, most of these platforms, the one we use, the Know Before, and Brian, what did you say you use?
InfoSec Security.
InfoSec Security. Most of these things can do a trial where you can do a phishing test to see how badly your organization would fail or how well you would pass that test. And so ask them to do that for you too. And if they can't do it, one of these guys here can do it and I can too. So just private message us or put something in the chat. We'd love to hear you. Guys, I really appreciate this topic. Any final thoughts, guys? I know this is near and dear to our hearts. So
think before you click.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt. I think mine is assume everything is a hack, a scam.
Right. Assume breach. We're back to zero trust.
Exactly.
You bet.
We're back from last week.
What did I say we're going to do next week, guys? We are going to do, what was it? We loved it. Oh, we have
supply chain or the
Chip
I
shortage.
think let's go with
resignation.
supply chain first, if you don't mind. So we're going to talk
I
about
do
next
not
week
mind.
on the reboot. Is that okay, David?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking
David's great.
how the supply chain for the chip problems in the supply chain are causing problems in businesses today. In particular, we're going to give you some real world examples of how it's affecting our abilities to do jobs as IT providers, and so that you can know what to expect from your IT provider or when you go to buy a computer. Price is incredibly inflated right now. That's kind of like a secret if you don't know it already. So, guys, thanks for the show.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Guys,
Thanks, guys.
everyone take care. See you next week.